Thank you. I insisted on the sir. Good evening. For those of you who are too young or too old or too bewildered to remember, 20 years ago, I was on your television screens 3 times a week, inflicting myself in all directions. With sparkling originality, the show was called Wogan. Just when you thought it was safe to turn on your television again, I'm back. Now looking back and forward at the same time. If you don't know where you've been, how can you know where you're going? Somebody sent me a little poem. If you watch Wogan Now and Then, you're bound to get a shock for seeing both. It seems he's changed overnight from a young jock to an older sort of gentleman, though not quite a crock. But if you view him every day, then it's plain to see he hasn't altered overnight. But just like you and me, he's gradually worked his way toward antiquity. Swaying in the breeze. Now tonight, I'll be remembering Wogan's past with Hollywood legend Christopher Lee. Yes, indeed. And I'll be looking back with David Icke to that interview that, in his words, made him the most ridiculed man in Britain. But he's looking pretty good. And tonight, we have a young lady for whom great things are expected. The delectable Fern Cotton. Oh, there's no need to do this all. And if that doesn't sate you, another beauty to bring out the beast, the lovely Ulrika Johnson. You like her the best, do you? When we first met back in 1985, my first guest was already a legend of the screen. Ladies and gentlemen, Christopher Lee. Christopher, I hate to take early issue with you, but you seem to be picking on a little dwarf there.
Well, he makes his apologies that he here tonight not is.
Well, him you killed nearly.
Yeah, but in the third film,
Yeah.
they got their revenge. And he went on forever, because I think I'm right in saying he was in either the
He was.
5th or even the 6th. I can't remember.
Is he a little chap? Is he a terribly small little fellow?
Yes,
Is he?
very.
Yes, I know
You've
that.
got to watch small people, you know.
Yeah.
They can get at you from
I
funny
mean,
places.
is there a real person in this little outfit?
No,
Huh?
no,
So you're fighting nothing?
nothing. Nothing at all. George Lucas is saying to me, he's up there, he's down there, you're having a to-do in the
That's
middle
impossible.
there, down there, up there. So I was just following his directions and trying not to fall over.
You're a distinguished actor. You've always been a successful actor. It is extraordinary that you're more successful now than when I spoke to you all those years ago, when you were successful enough, God knows. Could you have anticipated, as we look back in this book, could you have anticipated your career taking this step forward?
Not really, because you never know what's round the corner. Even today, I don't know. I know what I've been asked to do, but I don't know whether it's going to be done. I think the way one looks at a career is that hopefully each thing that you do, if it's any good, will be another step up the ladder, another rung. And I suppose I got fairly close to the top at the moment, but the danger is once you get to the top, there's only one direction you can go in.
Yes, but you've been nice to the people on the way up anyway, so you'll be all right coming down.
Hope so.
Was it George Lucas who thought that you was such an admirer of yours that he had to have you in Star Wars?
Well, I'd like to think that. I got a call at home, and it said, "This is George Lucas. We did meet, you remember, in San Francisco." And I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, I'm in Australia, and we're going to do the next Star Wars film, Episode 2. They didn't have a title. He said, "And I'd like you very much to be in it. We'll send the script." And he made a remark which I thought was terribly important because you hardly ever hear it now. We'll have fun. And that's something today, the way the business functions or malfunctions or whatever, you hardly ever hear. People are so busy looking at their watches and working out the budget and saying we've got to get off this set and so on. You can't even practically sit down and talk like you and I are talking. You want it, quick, hurry up.
Nothing like the fun you and Peter Cushing used to have and all those, when you were sinking your fangs into people's neck.
That was a very, 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 very long time ago.
Of course it was.
Over 30 years.
And you moved away from that. Do you remember you saying to me, I met perhaps somebody told me, that those red contact lenses that you used to put in for Dracula, you couldn't see a thing?
No. I couldn't. I frequently had to pursue a luscious maiden, whom of course I never got.
Oh, good for you.
I'm saying, I frequently used to pursue her and has to come hurtling down the stairs and rocket past the camera. And couldn't see anything. Anything at all.
And then you got the nap hand, so you've the Star Wars, and then you got Lord of the Rings.
Well, that was a dream come true for me.
What drew you to that role? Why did you want that?
Peter Jackson, I think, had always wanted me to play it. He had almost been brought up on watching my movies, or so he told me. A lot of directors have said that, and I've not dared ask them which movies they were. But
you've got nothing to be ashamed of.
Oh, I've been in a few horrors, believe me, in the real sense of the word. Well, we all have.
Okay.
Anyway, I read these books when they came out, and I was absolutely enthralled. I thought it was the greatest work of literature I'd ever read in my life. I still think so. And I read it every year.
You read Tolkien's Lord of the Rings?
I read the Lord of the Rings every year. And it was 55 or thereabouts, I think, when the first one came out. And like all actors, I suppose, when you read something like that, you have this dream. Oh, wouldn't it be wonderful if it was made? And even more wonderful when I was in it. So it does show that sometimes dreams do come true.
But isn't it right that you've actually met Tolkien?
Very briefly, yes. I was sitting in a pub in Oxford with some friends. It was quite a long time ago. This was in the middle or late 50s, I think. The Eagle and Child is the name of the pub. It's better known as the Bird and the Baby. But he used to go there all the time to meet C.S. Lewis, who is behind Narnia, of course, The Lion, Witch and the Wardrobe. They had a society called the Inklings. And we were sitting having a beer, and I suddenly saw this figure come in, pipe, just like every photograph, jovial-looking man. And I said, my God, there's the professor. And one of the people with us said, well, I've actually worked for him. I'll try and get him to come over and say, how do you do? And he did. He came over and said, how do you do? And I said, how do you do, sir? And I thought, now, should I kneel or should I? Because I was completely overcome.
The great J.R.R. Tolkien.
Oh, genius.
When we first met, I think 1985, if I'm not mistaken, was your first appearance on a British talk show. And you gave us an insight into why you've been a success for so long. Let's have a look.
So you saw that was me.
I mean, it's no fun for me either looking back. And any guests who come on this show, I'm so grateful to them because there is a degree of pluck about coming on and being unafraid to look at yourself 20, 25 years ago.
Well, nothing you can do about it. It's there.
What about a bit of plastic surgery, no?
That I haven't reached.
No, well, of course, I'm
yet.
not suggesting that you do it.
No, I totally not.
But in my case...
I have had my nose broken 3 times, but not cosmetically.
What, by infuriated members of the public, or what?
No. Once was during the war, we won't go into that.
Oh, all right then.
Another time was skiing. Believe it or not, when one ski stuck and the other one went on, I went straight down, bang. And the other was in a fight. But you should have seen the other guy.
Right. I certainly wouldn't like to engage you in the Marquis of Queensberry rules, even at this stage. So this versatility you were talking about, do you think that's something missing?
Yeah.
I mean, you were saying that gaiety and joy and fun is missing. Versatility, would you say, among actors?
Well, it depends on their age.
Yeah.
I think the problem today, and I think it's a very dangerous one for the people concerned, is that there are quite large numbers of very young men and women, boys and girls to me, from 18 to 30, and they are playing very large parts in huge films, and they simply, through no fault of their own, don't have the background and the experience and the knowledge to pull it off. And it's dangerous for them because it means that if they're in one failure after another, sooner or later, people are going to say, well, you know, he may have a pretty face, but he's not bringing the public in.
Which of the modern co-stars, the people you've worked with, directors, who's impressed you most? Actors, for instance?
Oh, that's not a difficult one to answer. The number one actor in the world, as far as I'm concerned, is Johnny Depp. I've worked with him 3 times. He's also a personal friend. And he's not afraid of a challenge. That's what I love. He's not afraid of anything. And Tim, of course, is an actor's dream.
Tim Burton.
Tim Burton.
Yeah.
He's an actor's dream. He's my favorite director. Just happens that they go together. And I've never seen him look upset or annoyed. He never shouted. He never said, you know, that was awful, we'll do it again. He said, that was fine, but we might just try one more, you know, something like that. Directors have the trust of the actors.
Well,
in the old days when I started, there were an awful lot of bullies around.
Well, that was fine, Christopher. But join me after the break, and I'll be talking to Christopher Lee about his new film. And I'll be looking back with David Icke at the time when he was torn apart by the tabloids. And Ulrika Johnson and Fern Cotton also have the doubtful pleasure. But see you in a moment. I had a career that spanned 60 years, 280 movies and TVs. This man is now a bigger star than he ever was. Christopher Lee. Oh, for goodness sake, man. Do you ever feel that it's time you hung up your spurs? Or?
No, I'd never do that. I felt like it sometimes.
When you got fed up with the director?
Well, yes, when everything was going wrong or people behaving badly, not being professional and so on. I've said to my wife, you know, I've said, why do I bother anymore? Because showbiz has changed so much in the last 20 or 30 years. When I started, which is nearly 60 years ago, in fact, nearly, all the technicians wore a suit and a shirt and a tie. That's trivial. But the differences are that it's not a question of being good at your job. And the people who make the decisions to give you the part or put up the money for the production or whatever it may be, they're very amateurish in many ways. They don't like the old giants who were monsters, but they knew how to make movies.
You mean people like the Warner Brothers? And
well, yes,
Cohn
Harry Cohn and all those boys.
Yeah, Mayer.
Yeah, oh, they were,
Goldwyn.
boy. I never knew them before my time, if you can believe that. And today, there's this amateurishness. People, they don't so much make movies as make deals. And they see a picture you've done, and they cut your best scene. Oh, it's too long. Well, I have no control over that sort of thing. Very few people do. Final cut, you know, Brando had it. I'm sure Eastwood has it. Cruise, probably. Julia Roberts. and so on. I'm sure they do. But and Hoffman and De Niro and Pacino.
But excuse me, you should have this, because it's only lately you've been in such demand for Hollywood blockbusters. Didn't I read that you're the industry's most valuable player in 2005, that your films, the films in which you starred, have grossed more than Cruise's or Depp's or any major star? So
$640 million in 1 year. I only have one regret. Didn't come to me. No, it's a strange thing that it was in an American newspaper called USA Today, and it was picked up by every American newspaper, many European ones, and 2 or 3 in this country. And I feel slightly diffident at saying this, but at the end of it were the 3 letters MVP. And I thought, what does that mean? I had no idea. So I rang up director in LA, the last one I worked with, producer, a film about the late Pope, which isn't out here yet. And I said, what does MVP stand for? He said, most valuable player.
It's a sort of American football term.
Oh, I felt rather pleased about that,
I think so. But I mean, does this not give you the kind of power you're talking about to dictate how you want a film goes?
No. What? I'm too old. I'm not pretty enough. No, I don't mean that in a bitchy way, not really. But it goes back to what I was saying earlier, that so many of these good-looking, sometimes even pretty, boys and girls are getting these huge roles. And it's not fair on them. It's going to catch up.
It doesn't matter. If the film, as you say, all they care about is that the film makes an awful lot of money.
That's right. Then you get offered another job.
Yeah.
But if you're in the best film you think you've ever made and the best performance you think you've ever given, it doesn't make money.
You're dead.
Silence.
You're dead. Now, your new film, it's a great deal smaller than a Star Wars epic or Lord of the Rings. Greyfriars Bobby?
Yeah. It's an enchanting film, and it's a true story. It's about a dog in the cemetery of a place called Greyfriars, which is near Edinburgh, who, when his master died, he would not leave the grave. He would not leave it. Nobody could get him out. And there's a statue to that dog in Edinburgh now, and we tell the story.
Greyfriars Bobby.
Oh, it's a lovely picture.
Yeah.
I was saying, it's an absolutely true story. The extraordinary thing is I was wearing the provost's robes, the real ones, there. And it's a difficult film to make a film like that, because you know that everybody's going to look at the dog. Well, of course. I mean, he is the star. Yeah. But it's not a question of being a star. My feeling about taking a part is I look at the script, I ask who the director is, and if possible, who the other performers are, and I look at it, and it could be 1 day, 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, and I think to myself, what kind of contribution can I make to this film which will mean something? Now, that's not a huge part, and there's more to it than that, but there's not a huge part involved. It doesn't matter. It means something, because the Lord Provost of Edinburgh in those days was the Almighty.
So, you're past the stage you're going to work for money.
I've never worked for money.
Never?
I'm sure people don't believe that, but I haven't. And there have been quite a few films in which I haven't been paid at all. I did The Wicker Man for nothing, but I knew I was going to do it for nothing.
But that's
zero.
That's still a very, very popular and
oh, it's a wonderful picture. And I've done films which have grossed millions and millions and millions, which I got paid 500 quid to play the star. So I didn't become an actor to be rich and famous. People may not believe that, but I truly didn't.
It just happened.
It just happened. It just happened. And,
is there another role, one more role? I'm not saying you're finished, but is there one role before you finish that you particularly want to do? Is there anything you'd really like?
Yes, there is one, and I've asked the people in the country concerned whether they would accept me in this part, because it's not an Englishman. The part is Don Quixote, Don Quixote, as we know him. And Spaniards, of course, when he is a national icon, understandably, and I'm still not too old to play him.
No?
No, believe it or not. I mean, he was about my age, roughly, between 70 and 90.
Would I be too old for Sancho Panza?
No, but you'd have to put on an awful lot of weight.
Oh! Put it there. I'm going to leave it there. We wish for your long success to continue far longer. And Greyfriars Bobby is released February the 10th. Ladies and
Oh,
gentlemen.
I'm glad you told me. I didn't know.
Does this mean that you're going to turn up for the premiere?
No, I won't be.
Christopher Lee.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.